Hello, hello, and welcome back to Key Lights here on Princeton Community Television. I'm Misha.
I'm Rachel.
And here with us today we have Dr. Ivonne Diaz-Claisse, who is the founder and CEO of an organization called HISPA. So to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you enjoyed doing as you grew up?
Well, thank you first of all for having me here. I'm very excited to be part of your show. So I have to admit that when I was your age, I really loved mathematics. I really loved doing my math homework. And that was the first hint I had that maybe when I grew up, I would do something with math. So I had this kind of started to really build a dream for my future. And secretly, I wanted to be like Fibonacci. I don't know if you guys know about the mathematician Fibonacci, but I recommend you look into it. He came out with this sequence of numbers that, it can be applied to a lot of things in real life. And I thought that was really cool. But I was a bit shy about telling my friends that secretly I wanted to be like Fibonacci. And I said, maybe I have to pursue a degree in mathematics. Then I had a situation where I was in high school where my math teacher challenged me. And he said he didn't think I could be as good in math as my brother. And that really made me upset. So I decided to really do well in my math class. I worked very hard on doing the best I could. And guess what? I ended up being better than my teachers because I did pursue a degree in mathematics. I have a PhD in mathematics. So in a way, I discovered new mathematics and I was like Fibonacci.
So did you find that because you are a female in, a STEM subject that people would often doubt your ability to strive in this subject?
Yes, definitely. I think there's a lot of stereotypes, not only about being female, but also personality-wise. I am kind of like outgoing person, and I like to do a lot of different things in college. I volunteer for organizations. I used to work at the cruise ships. I did fashion modeling. I was in some TV commercials, and the teachers and the professors at the university didn't really take me very serious. One time someone told me I should be like a cruise director, entertainment director. So there was this kind of image that to be a mathematician, you had to look a certain way or behave a certain way. So I had to kind of fight that throughout. But what I found out as I continue my education, I went to do a master's degree and then the PhD. It was actually, I had very positive experiences. I think there was a lot of people that really wanted to see me succeed. I think there were people that thought, wow, she grew up in Puerto Rico, she's persevering, she wants to be a mathematician, it's going to be great. She will become a role model for others. So I felt that at times I did have a lot of support, especially as I went further in my career to pursue, as I was pursuing my degree.
So after you were pursuing your degree, what did you do afterwards with your career-wise?
So when you do a PhD in mathematics, you have many options. People think that you're only going to end up being a professor. And that's fine. There might be some people that's why they do a PhD, because they want to be a professor. But I actually went to work for AT&T. And in many companies in the United States and anywhere in the world, people need mathematicians. It doesn't matter if it's government, if it's corporations, if it's the nonprofit world, or administration in academia. Math is very important. So I had an amazing opportunity to work at AT&T. One thing I want to point out, though, is that as I was doing my bachelor's degree, I went to do an internship at AT&T. And internships are very important because you're getting that work experience, but it's also kind of not very stressful in the sense that people know that you're still a student. So there's not that high expectations as when you are done and you're really having your real job. So doing those internships really opened a lot of doors. And for me, it opened the door to actually end up being an employee of AT&T. So, and in AT&T, I work on data analysis and forecasting. And so I had a really, really exciting career. I was able to do math at the corporation.
So you mentioned at AT&T, that's what inspired you to create your company.
No, but what's interesting is when you go to corporations, when you go to a corporation like that, there is these affinity groups that are, recognized by the company. So think about in your school, you have clubs, or you get together because you're passionate about the environment, or you get together because you want to work with animals. So at work we have affinity groups, and at AT&T we had an affinity group, and it still exists, but it was to deal and to work with the Hispanic professionals. So I had the opportunity to spend time with other Hispanic professionals that share a similar story as mine. They came maybe from another country, or their parents came from another country. Their first language in many cases is Spanish, or Spanish is being spoken at home. You have like all these things in common, and that brings you together. I started to volunteer with that organization, and I started to really, do a lot of things. When you are part of an affinity group, you can help the company. So, for example, we help the company by doing like voice recognition in Spanish. So who better than us to do it, right? So that we were helping the company. We also did other activities to help our professional development. So we will do like, if I was really good at a subject, I will teach other people about it. And I will practice my communication skills, my presentation skills. And at the same time, my peers will learn new topics or new parts of the company. But also we care a lot about the community, about, what can we do to give back? We are now in our careers. We have resources we can share, and we wanted to do more in the community. So I got very involved in doing things in the community. Like one time I went to read, to kindergarteners books. One time we went to paint an organization that needed, they needed their buildings painted. I did a lot of different things. We did Secret Santa and different things to help the community. You have to remember, when I started in AT&T, there was about 20 million Latinos in America. Now there's 57 million. So things have really changed from when I was at AT&T and what I'm doing now. So,
did you find when you were pursuing your degree that you were perhaps a minority among the other the classmates, either being female or because of your nationality? And how did it affect you?
Yeah, definitely. I was one of the few females, and I was definitely one of the few Hispanics. Actually, when sometimes I share my story in different schools, one of the things that I tell the students is that I was, I think, the first Latina to finish a PhD in math at Arizona State University. So in a way, I don't know, I'm like a historical figure or something. But, but it is, I was really doing something that not a lot of people do anyways. But at that college, I was, I'm pretty sure I was the first one. I was told that recently, which is interesting, so many years later. But, once again, even though that was the case, I think I really celebrated, my heritage in many different ways. Sometimes I will have friends and I will teach them how to dance salsa. Sometimes I will cook the food from my country and I will share it. So I always thought about it in a positive way. I think sometimes, you can also make a choice. You can make a choice to think about it in a negative way, right? But I chose to think about it in a positive way. How can I bring my culture to other people? How can I share, the things that I'm good at, and celebrate that? So I think we have a choice. It doesn't matter what makes us different. We have a choice to really teach others about you.
So HISPA, you were inspired by how now that America has grown to 57 million Latinos, and that not that as many are going into math and science.
Yeah.
Would you like to expand?
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. So when I was at AT&T, remember I told you a little bit about the affinity groups. In some companies they're called business resource group, and some companies they're called employee resource group. When I was part of those groups, I will be invited to speak about my story in different communities. And I remember specifically one time that I was invited to speak at a school in Newark. And to be honest, I lived in the suburbs. We really never went to Newark. The only time I went to Newark was to go in the airport to go to Puerto Rico. So this time I was actually going to a school, and I drove, and I walked into the classroom. I mean, it wasn't the classroom, it was an auditorium. And I looked at the auditorium and I saw, hundreds of students, and they looked like me. So I look at the principal and I said, how many of these children are Latino? And he said, what are you talking about? Like over 95% of them are Latino. And that really was a shock to me because, when I was at work, I didn't see that diversity. And also in the community where I live, also I didn't see that diversity. But then going there, I was like shocked. And then I started talking about my story. Like I told you, I told you about, wanting to be a mathematician and all those things and some of the obstacles I overcame and how I did it. And next thing you know, when I told the kids that I had discovered new mathematics, they actually stood on a line to get my autograph. Oh. And that was so inspiring to me. I felt like, wow, they really were listening and they really were inspired. And one of the girls at the very end, she said, now that I've met you, I know I will also pursue a PhD. So when I left, as you can imagine, I really felt something needed to be done. Because one of the reasons a student doesn't pursue higher education is the lack of a role model. And I was thinking, but I have so many friends. What about if we all get together and we all do this all the time? What about if everyone does it at least once a year? What about if I'm the one who comes out with the way to do this? And I really, since that moment, I didn't stop thinking about this until one time that I was invited to speak at a conference of employee resource groups. So I was in Microsoft, and there was like 200 people in the audience, and they were mainly Latino professionals, and mainly in the STEM fields. And then I had two or three people in the panel discussion, and they represented organizations of Latino professionals. For example, the Association of Latinos in Finance and Accounting, the organization of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, like organizations that represent hundreds of thousands of professionals. And I said, wow, if all of them, at their organizations, they all get involved, and all these people in front of me get involved, we can really change the future of the country, right? If you think about it, if one of the reasons why they don't go to college is because of the lack of a role model, and now here we are bringing role models to them, we should be able to make a difference. And when I came back, I quit my job, and I decided to do this. So it's not an easy decision, when you think about it, but deep in my heart, I knew it was the right decision. It was like finding your vocation. It's like a moment where it's like, ta-da, I found what I was meant to be doing. And that's when I, decided to, with other people together, say we're going to start this organization, HISPA. And the HISPA, even though it's short for Hispanic, it stands for Hispanics Inspiring Students' Performance and Achievement.
Could you tell us the mission statement? The
mission statement. So our mission is to mobilize Latino professionals to serve as role models for the youth. So, and in the communities where they live and work. So we want to make it easy for them to give back in their communities. So they don't have to really, drive 2 hours to do it, right? They're going to look around their communities and be able to, take an hour or two from work and be able to step into a classroom to share their stories. One of the things I want to share with you is that it's been 10 years since I decided to do this. And so I'm kind of celebrating the 10 years of hard work, but a lot of accomplishments. We have done 800 school visits. So 800 times, because of HISPA, Latino professionals have been in classrooms across the United States, actually, not only in New Jersey, also in New York, Miami, and San Antonio, Texas. And we've been able to really share our stories.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's truly an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you.
And I'm honored to be, like you said, in the presence of a historical figure. And I'll have to collect your autograph afterwards.
Yes, we will
for all these reasons.
I want your autograph, you
guys.
guys. Yes.
Thank you. That means a lot to us. So could you tell us what your favorite experience in creating this organization and perhaps reaching out to people has been?
Well, I have a big one that I have to tell you about. Okay.
Of course.
There's many, so it's not easy, but this is quite special. So since I started this organization, at the beginning it was 100 volunteers and 4 schools. Now we have 25 schools and over 2,000 volunteers. So, we have grown throughout the years. And one of my dreams is to have Joe Acaba, who is a Puerto Rican astronaut, speak to our HISPA students. And I have invited, I have written to NASA 3-4 times, maybe 5 times, because we do a big event at Princeton University. We do a youth conference where we bring students from the programs across, the New Jersey, and we bring the role models, and we have a great, beautiful day at Princeton University. We call it Take Action, Achieve Your Dreams. And every year we bring a keynote speaker, someone really inspirational, and we have had amazing people join us. But I have always wanted that Joe Acaba would come. I'm kind of like, I love math and science, and, he was a teacher. He was, I believe, a math or science teacher. And he's decided to apply to NASA. And he applied once and got a no, and he applied again, and again. Anyways, so this year, I got a letter back from NASA saying that Joe Acaba is going to be the speaker for us. So that's like really, really amazing. And I have to be very honest, and I think I can share that it made me cry because, when you kind of like think, oh, it's not going to happen, and then finally, you get that yes. I was really, that moment, it was priceless. So that was a good question because, it's really something to be celebrated, and it's about perseverance. When you really want to offer something to others, you cannot give up. Sometimes we give up for ourselves, but not for others. And I definitely, I'm excited about that. He will be talking to the students from NASA. So we're going to have that, connectivity with him, and he's going to finally be one of our HISPA role models.
So what other role models do you present? And what is the process in HISPA to inspire students besides the role model coming to speak?
So I'm going to back up a little bit because I think I haven't told you about the program, right? So what we do is we work with the school, we select a group of students, and then let's say we have, 75 students in a school in Elizabeth, right? So those 75 students are part of the HISPA Role Model Program. For that, we will bring up to 12 volunteers to speak to them, and we call them the HISPA Role Models. And then we also do what we call the Imagine Day, which is we bring the the students to the corporations for a day at work. So they can see us, see our offices, our buildings, and all of that. And then the third program is the youth conference that I just explained. So the role models, I've been very lucky to have gone out there to mobilize Latino professionals, exactly what our mission is. And we have role models from UPS. We have role models from AT&T, from Merck, from Bristol Myers Squibb, from Princeton University, from government. We have people from Verizon, many companies around the state. We're very, very blessed. Visa, so it's, really people that are, living their lives, and we're just knocking at the door and say, look, you have an amazing story. You did something that some people don't believe some of the Latino children in our communities can achieve. And we're just inviting them to take a moment and just share their story. And you should see how the students change their attitude towards higher education. They do.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
What age range of students do you especially target?
That's another wonderful question. We're focusing on middle school. So a lot of research has been done about this, and people realize that the middle school grades are wonderful because students have a lot of aspirations. When you go to the 9th, 10th grade, if things have gone kind of not as well in middle school, they're already kind of losing interest, and they're losing kind of that belief in themselves or that aspiration, I want to be this or I want to be that, they start thinking it's not possible. So we, from the beginning, decided that if we were going to do this work, it had to be done mainly 7th, 8th grade, such that the students understood also the importance of high school. I mean, here in your schools, my children's schools, sometimes, it's like we take it for granted that high school grades are important, that that you need to do volunteer work and that you need to have extracurricular activities, that you should do a sport and all those things, take AP classes. And those things, because of your, we're very lucky to be in these schools that have that information for you. And some of your parents have gone through that. But a lot of children don't have those role models at home. Maybe the parents were not lucky enough to complete high school or complete, college. So it's important that that information gets to them as soon as possible. And sometimes, when teachers talk to you, maybe you're like, oh, sometimes you don't listen to them because you hear them all the time. But when someone comes from outside the school and comes in and you connect with a person in a special way, then you're like, oh, and you start listening and you start seeing yourself in these stories, right? And that's what we want. It's kind of like really, there is something called self-efficacy. I don't know if you have heard that term, but the idea is that belief in your capabilities. And it's hard to happen if you don't have a role model, people that validate those dreams. And that's kind of what we are helping with.
Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. So
wow, that went fast.
Is there any, how do you volunteer at HISPA or apply to a program or any last words to the audience?
Bob, thank you again for having me. This has been very, very enjoyable. And so there is different things, right? So if you are an adult or a college student and you want to share your story, you just have to go in our website, log in, register your name, and let us know you are interested. And then we have a whole process. You get someone to call you, welcome you. We get, you to share your biography. We give you a little kind of like logistics information. And then you're all set to go and register for a school. If you are a school, right, and you're interested in having a program, then you can just reach out to us at info@hispa.org. And then we get the information right away and we can follow up with you. But also as high school students, you can volunteer for our organization. We have a lot of data entry. I have a lot of students that are helping with data entry, or even sometimes doing charts and graphs using Excel and things like that. Sometimes we have events and we need people to be at the registration table. Sometimes we have like packing giveaway bags for the students and we need an assembly line. We have a lot of opportunities for high school students too. And the best way is you really want to be involved is to send us an email, say, introduce yourself, say how many hours you're willing to give us, and we can give you an opportunity to give back. Okay.
Thank you so much.
No
That
problem.
sounds great. And I hope that, somebody that's watching will definitely reach out to you. So from your personal perspective, being a minority while going through school, what's one message that you could say to anybody out in the audience that's going through a similar struggle that would help to get through the process?
Oh, yeah. You have to really believe in yourself. You have to also not be shy about asking for help. I think that's my biggest lesson learned from my journey. There was many times where if I had not asked for help, I would not have completed my degree. So, being very humble and reaching out is very important. There's many lessons learned, but that's definitely one that I will like people to really know is important. And sometimes that's very hard. I'm sure we're all in those positions where we are afraid to ask for help. Also, I always say walk the hallways. This is an advice that I give students because when I was in a lot of colleges. First, I was at the University of Puerto Rico. Then I went to Cornell University. Then I went to University of Maryland, and then I went to Arizona State University. And when you look at what I studied throughout all those years, it was because I walked the hallways of other departments that I got to find the topic that I love and that I wanted to kind of pursue. So it's just about networking and meeting other people. If I stayed just in the math department, I would have not accomplished what I accomplished in the way I did. So I always say, walk the hallways. Even if it doesn't matter what you're studying, then, when you're going for lunch, detour and walk through the mechanical engineering department. And then the next time, maybe go through the psychology department. And what you're going to find is amazing people that are doing great work, but they might connect with the topic that you are interested, but it's an application. So you can connect. But also you will make new friends. You will maybe find a summer opportunity or a job in a lab. And you're going to learn a lot. So I think also most important, remember the power of role models. So as you're in college, you want to find those people that are inspiring you to continue to work hard. Because, studying for so many years is not, that easy, right? It's fun and there's a lot of experiences that you're going to, really enjoy, but it requires a lot of hard work. So looking for people that are inspiring you, not only by the words that they share, but by their own stories, is very important.
Thank you so much for sharing your story
Thank
and,
you.
sharing the leap of faith from working, at AT&T and then just, dropping it all to create this organization because you saw that there was a need. And I totally agree with everything you've said. It's really important. And thank you for putting this out into our world and for
Thank
coming onto
you.
our show to help spread it even more and make us aware
Thank you.
of your wonderful organization.
Thank you. Maybe one day you guys can come and get some community service hours
Yeah.
with me, right? That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Or internship.
And an internship, yes. Right now, I like how you're talking. You see, everyone, that's what you need to do, seek the opportunity, seek the moment. We can talk about that. We have interns coming in this summer. We're going to have 3 interns. These are university students, but we can always consider, and we had a high school student a couple of years ago. He worked for 2 weeks at our organization. So we will talk. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.